My child, rise with gratitude in your bones. Stand tall when the world says bend. Wrap your kindness around strangers like a warm shawl. Wear your scars like jewels. Walk through each day awake, aware, and love so fiercely it leaves echoes long after you're gone. Gratitude is the quiet magic that can turn even the simplest day into a symphony of blessings. It is not reserved for grand victories or shining moments. It lives in the ordinary, in the breath that rises and falls without your command, in the light that slips gently through your window, in the fact that you woke up this morning when so many did not. Gratitude is not just saying thank you with your lips. It is learning to feel the weight and wonder of what you have with the fullness of your spirit. When you wake, before you let the world pour its noise into your mind, pause. Notice the soft sheets that kept you warm through the night. Notice the roof above your head that guarded you from the wind and rain. Notice the simple miracle of opening your eyes to see, ears to hear, and hands to reach. These are not small things. They are quiet treasures, and too often they are the first we forget. Gratitude asks you to look again and recognize their worth. The practice of gratitude reshapes the heart. A grateful heart does not deny pain or struggle, but it refuses to let them eclipse the beauty that still exists. You may be walking through a season of loss, but gratitude reminds you that you have walked through before and survived. You may feel that the world is heavy, but gratitude whispers that there is still laughter to be shared, still people who care, still air in your lungs to fight another day. Gratitude does not require perfection in your life. It thrives in imperfection. A chipped mug can still hold your morning tea. A worn pair of shoes can still carry you where you need to go. The friends you have may not always understand you, but the love they give is still real. Gratitude asks that you focus on what remains instead of what is missing. It teaches you to water the garden you have instead of weeping for the flowers you lost. There is a strength that gratitude brings, a quiet resilience. When you choose to be thankful even in scarcity, you loosen the grip of fear. When you acknowledge the good you already hold, you stop chasing endlessly for more. The world will always try to convince you that you are lacking, that you must run faster, earn bigger, shine brighter to be enough. Gratitude says, I am already enough, and my life is already rich. From that place, you can still strive, but it will be from joy, not from emptiness. Gratitude also transforms the way you see others. It shifts your eyes from criticism to appreciation. Instead of counting the ways someone has failed you, you begin to notice the ways they have shown up for you. You see the friend who stayed up late to listen when your heart was heavy. You see the parent who worked quietly in the background to keep food on the table. You see the stranger who smiled at you when you felt invisible. Gratitude teaches you to say, I see you and I thank you, not just with words, but with how you carry yourself in return. In practicing gratitude, you also learn humility. You recognize that not all blessings come from your own hands. Some are given freely and without condition. The rain does not fall because you deserve it. It falls because the world is generous in ways we cannot control. The breath in your lungs is not something you earned. It is something you were given. Humility in gratitude allows you to walk through life with less entitlement and more wonder, more openness to the beauty that arrives unannounced. Gratitude is not a one-time act. It is a discipline, a rhythm you keep until it becomes the natural beat of your life. Some days it will come easily. You will feel drenched in goodness, overwhelmed by all that is right. Other days, you will have to search for it like a pearl buried deep in the dark. Those are the days it matters most. On the hardest mornings, gratitude might be nothing more than whispering, "At least I am still here," and that is enough. If you let it, gratitude will color the way you speak, the way you move, the way you treat the world. You will begin to look for beauty on purpose. You will learn to stop in the middle of a busy day just to watch sunlight move across the wall or to listen to a bird's call in the distance. You will carry less bitterness because you have trained your eyes to find the gold in the dirt. You will become someone whose presence is a gift in itself because people can feel when you are thankful, and it makes them feel valued too. When you live with gratitude, you are no longer merely existing, you are savoring. You are tasting your life as it happens instead of rushing through it to get to the next thing. You begin to see that the moments you once overlooked, the shared meal, the quiet walk, the warm hand in yours, are the very moments that make life worth living. And when you live like that, even the smallest day can feel extraordinary. Courage to stand tall is not about never feeling fear. It is about refusing to let fear have the final say. The trembling in your knees, the racing of your heart, the doubt whispering that you cannot, these are not signs of weakness. They are the very proof that courage is needed. Anyone can be steady when the ground is smooth, but it is in the storms, when the wind tries to bend you, that courage earns its name. Standing tall does not mean you will not sway. Life will press you, sometimes hard enough to make you lean, to make you question whether you can keep going. But courage is the hand at the base of your spine that reminds you to straighten, even when you want to fold. It is the voice that tells you, you are still here, and that is enough to keep trying. Often, courage is quiet. It is not always the grand public gesture that draws applause. Sometimes it is simply showing up to a day you would rather hide from. It is answering the phone when you know hard news might be on the other side. It is speaking the truth when your voice shakes or holding your silence when your anger wants to speak for you. Courage lives in the ordinary moments where no one else is watching, when you choose what is right over what is easy. To stand tall means carrying your dignity like armor. It is not pride or arrogance. It is knowing your worth and refusing to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's comfort. You will meet people who try to make you feel small, who speak as though your dreams are foolish, who cast shadows over your light because it is easier for them than facing their own dimness. Courage is the decision to keep shining anyway. There will be days when standing tall feels like standing alone. You may look around and see no one beside you, no one who understands your fight. Loneliness can make you want to sit down, to retreat into yourself. But courage reminds you that even if you are the only one on the hill, your stand still matters. The first to rise is often the loneliest, but it is also the one who proves it can be done. Courage is not about the absence of wounds. It is about carrying them without letting them define you. You may have been knocked down before, and you may be knocked down again, but every time you rise, you stretch a little taller. Scars do not weaken the tree. They show the battles it has survived. The cracks in you let in the light. And courage is the decision to let that light show instead of hiding it away. Standing tall often means speaking for yourself when the easier choice is to remain silent. It is claiming space in a world that sometimes tries to tell you there is none left for you. It is voicing your truth, not because you are sure it will be heard, but because your soul needs to say it. Courage does not always win the argument, but it always wins back a piece of yourself. Fear will try to tell you that standing tall is dangerous, that you will be judged, mocked, or misunderstood. And perhaps you will, but the deeper danger is in folding yourself so small that you forget the shape of who you are. Every time you bow to fear, you teach yourself to live with less of your own light. Every time you stand despite fear, you teach yourself freedom. Sometimes courage is born from anger, anger at injustice, at cruelty, at the thought of living a life less than you are meant for. Sometimes it is born from love, love for yourself, for your people, for the dream you refuse to abandon. Whatever its root, courage grows when you feed it daily with small acts of defiance against fear. You may not notice at first, but one day you will realize you no longer tremble in the places you once did. Standing tall is not about pretending to be unshakable. Even the tallest trees bend in the wind. It is about choosing not to break. It is about planting your feet in the soil of your convictions, lifting your chin, and declaring without words that you will not be moved easily. You may sway, you may creak, but you remain. There will always be something in this world that tries to pull you down. Grief, failure, betrayal, self-doubt. But courage teaches you that standing tall is an act of resistance. It is your way of saying, I am still here, I am not finished, and I will not give away my ground. The more you practice it, the more it becomes your posture. Not just in hard times, but in every moment you choose to live with the fullness of who you are. Kindness is often mistaken for softness, for fragility, as though it belongs only to the gentle and easily swayed. But true kindness is not a weakness. It is a force that requires great strength. To be kind in a world that can be unkind is an act of quiet defiance. It is to open your hand when it would be easier to close it into a fist, to meet cruelty not with surrender, but with the deliberate choice to remain human. Kindness is not blind. It sees the flaws, the failings, the sharp edges in people, and still chooses to extend grace. It is not naive. It knows that the world can wound you, take advantage of you, or ignore your efforts entirely. And yet kindness offers itself anyway, not because it expects repayment, but because it understands that the act itself holds value. It is an anchor that keeps you from being swept away by bitterness. Strength is needed to offer kindness when you yourself are hurting. It is one thing to give when your cup is full, but another entirely to pour out from your own need. Yet sometimes a smile, a gentle word, or a moment of patience given in your own pain can be a lifeline for someone else. In these moments, kindness becomes a bridge, not only for others, but for yourself, carrying you over the waters of despair and reminding you that you still have the power to make the world softer. There is courage in kindness because it opens you to vulnerability. To show kindness is to risk being misunderstood, rejected, or taken for granted. But this risk is not a loss. It is a measure of your resilience. The world cannot take from you what you give freely. When you choose kindness, you declare that your actions are not dependent on the behavior of others, that your values, not their moods, shape the way you move through life. Kindness can be firm. It does not mean letting people harm you or remain in your life unchecked. Sometimes the most powerful kindness you can give is an honest word that stings but saves, a boundary that protects, a refusal to enable someone's harm. Strength in kindness is knowing when to extend a hand and when to let go for the good of both yourself and the other person. To live with kindness as strength means you carry it into the smallest details. It is in the way you greet the tired cashier with respect, the way you hold the door for the person behind you, the way you make room for another voice in the conversation. These acts may seem small, but they are not. Small kindnesses ripple outward, often reaching places you will never see. A word of encouragement you speak today might be remembered by someone years from now as the moment they decided to keep going. Kindness demands patience. It requires you to pause before reacting, to listen before judging, to consider the unseen burdens others may carry. You never truly know the battle someone is fighting, the heaviness behind their silence, the fear behind their anger. Kindness is the willingness to give them space to be human without demanding perfection in return. This patience is not weakness. It is control, discipline, and wisdom all at once. There will be times when kindness feels futile, when your efforts seem invisible, when the world answers your open hand with a closed door. But strength in kindness is not measured by the immediate result. It is measured by the consistency of your choice. Even if no one notices, even if no one thanks you, you keep planting seeds. Because kindness is not a transaction, it is a legacy. Kindness is a strength because it transforms both the giver and the receiver. It softens your own rough edges, teaching you empathy and humility. It invites connection where there might have been division. It can turn strangers into allies, opponents into partners, and wounds into beginnings. The more you practice it, the more it becomes the reflex of your spirit, shaping the way you see the world. To live with kindness as your strength is to refuse to let the hardness of life make you hard in return. It is to choose again and again to meet the world with open eyes, steady hands, and a heart that does not close itself off. You may not be able to change the entire world, but you can change the space you inhabit, and sometimes that is enough to change everything for someone else. Owning your story means standing in the truth of who you are without apology. It means looking at the chapters of your life, both the ones you are proud of and the ones you wish you could erase, and saying, yes, this is mine. Your story is not a perfect string of victories. It is a tapestry woven with triumphs and mistakes, joy and grief, love and loss. Each thread, no matter how frayed, is part of what makes you whole. There is a temptation to hide certain parts of ourselves, to bury the memories that carry shame or pain. We edit our stories in the hope that others will see only the polished version of who we are. But when you hide the difficult chapters, you deny the very parts of your life that shaped your strength. The storms you weathered, the wrong turns you took, the failures that taught you, these are not stains to be scrubbed away. They are proof that you have lived, learned, and grown. Owning your story means no longer running from it. It means you stop speaking about your life in a way that gives all the power to the pain and none to your resilience. You can acknowledge the harm done to you without allowing it to define your worth. You can admit the harm you have done without drowning in regret. When you own your story, you reclaim authorship. You move from being a passive character to being the narrator, the one who decides how the past is told and how the future is written. It takes courage to face the truths you wish were not there. You may have chapters that carry deep sorrow, moments when you felt lost, choices that you regret. To own them is not to celebrate them. It is to accept that they happened and that they are a part of the whole. Pretending they do not exist will not erase them. It will only keep you trapped in their shadow. Acceptance, however, can turn them into teachers. You learn to say, I am not that mistake, but I learned from it. I am not that wound, but I carry the wisdom it gave me. When you own your story, you free yourself from the need to compare your life to someone else's. You no longer measure your worth by how neatly your path matches theirs. You understand that no one else has lived exactly what you have lived, and that makes your journey unique. The joy you have found, the grief you have endured, the lessons you have gathered, these belong to you and cannot be duplicated. Your story is not meant to be a copy. It is meant to be an original rich with its own texture and truth. Owning your story also allows you to speak it. When you share your truth, you invite others to see themselves in it. Your honesty can be a mirror for someone who thought they were alone. Your scars can be a map for someone still finding their way through. It is not about oversharing or seeking validation. It is about recognizing that vulnerability is a bridge. When you allow yourself to be seen fully, you give others permission to do the same. This ownership is not static, it grows with you. As you live, you continue to write new chapters. Some will surprise you, some will test you, some will heal parts of you that you thought would always ache. By owning your story, you stay present in the writing of it. You don't just drift from one page to the next. You choose the ink, you shape the voice, you decide the message you want to carry forward. It is easy to let the world write your story for you. People will try to define you by your failures, by your past, by the roles they think you should play, but only you can decide the meaning of what has happened to you. Only you can decide whether a chapter is the end of the book or the beginning of something new. When you take back the pen, you remind yourself that while you cannot change what is already written, you can choose what comes next. Owning your story is an act of self-respect. It is saying to yourself, I am worthy of being seen exactly as I am. You may have walked through darkness, but you also found the light. You may have made mistakes, but you also made amends. You may have been broken, but you also learned how to rebuild. Every page tells the truth of a life that was not perfect, but was real, and that is its own kind of beauty. When you claim every part of your story, you stop living in the fragments and begin living in the whole. You realize that nothing was wasted, not the joy, not the loss, not the failures, not the victories. Every moment brought you to this one, and when you stand in that truth, you carry yourself differently, not as someone ashamed of where they have been, but as someone who understands that every step, every stumble, and every rise has made you who you are. To live with intention is to move through the world with your eyes open and your heart awake. It means you do not simply drift from one day to the next, letting the currents of routine carry you wherever they wish. Instead, you become the one steering your own ship, deciding where you will go and why you will go there. It is a choice to live deliberately, to shape your days so that they reflect your values, your priorities, and the life you wish to create. Living with intention does not mean you must control everything. Life will still surprise you, bring storms you did not expect, and send blessings you did not see coming. The difference is that when you live intentionally, you meet these moments with awareness instead of passivity. You are not asleep to your own existence. You notice what is happening, you decide how you will respond, and you move forward in a way that honors who you are. Every action you take carries weight. Every word you speak leaves an imprint. To live with intention is to recognize this truth and let it guide your choices. It is asking yourself before you act, does this align with the kind of life I want to live? Does this reflect the person I want to be? This is not about perfection, it is about consciousness. Even small decisions become opportunities to express your values, whether it is the way you spend your money, the way you spend your time, or the way you treat the people around you. When you live without intention, days can blur together. You may find yourself moving on autopilot, doing what is expected or what is easy without truly asking if it serves you. You wake up, go through the motions, and before you know it, another year has passed, and you are unsure where it went. Living intentionally breaks that cycle. It brings you back into the present moment, reminding you that each day is a piece of your life you will never get back. You can waste it, or you can fill it with meaning. To live with intention is also to be selective about what you allow into your life. You learn to say no to the things that drain you, distract you, or pull you away from your purpose. You become mindful of the conversations you engage in, the media you consume, the people you surround yourself with. You understand that everything you take in shapes who you are becoming, and so you choose with care. You invite in what inspires you, what challenges you to grow, what fills your spirit rather than empties it. Intentional living requires clarity. You must know what matters most to you, or else you cannot make choices that support it. This clarity may come from reflection, from trial and error, from moments when you realize you have been living someone else's definition of a good life. When you finally name your own values, love, creativity, service, freedom, peace, you begin to build your days around them. This alignment brings a quiet power to your life, a sense that you are not just existing, but truly living. There is a stillness in intentional living, even in busy seasons, because your actions are chosen, not rushed. You find a sense of purpose in them. You are not scattered in 100 directions, chasing everything and holding on to nothing. You are rooted. You know why you are doing what you are doing, and that knowing steadies you. It gives you the courage to release what no longer fits, and the faith to hold on to what does. Living with intention does not mean every day will be grand or every moment will be profound. It means that even in the ordinary, you are present. Washing the dishes becomes an act of care for the space you inhabit. Sharing a meal becomes a chance to connect. Sitting quietly with yourself becomes a moment to listen inward. These simple acts gain depth when they are done with awareness and purpose. It also means taking responsibility for your life. You stop blaming circumstances, luck, or other people for where you are. You may not control everything that happens, but you control what you do with it. Living intentionally is a refusal to be a passive participant in your own story. You become both the author and the main character, deciding each day how the next page will read. And perhaps the most powerful part of living with intention is that it brings fulfillment, not because life becomes perfect, but because it becomes yours. Every choice you make, every path you walk, is one you have chosen with awareness. You are no longer drifting, you are living on purpose. And in doing so, you discover that your days, no matter how simple, carry a richness that cannot be found any other way. To love out loud is to let your heart speak without hesitation, to give affection, care, and appreciation in ways that cannot be mistaken or overlooked. It is the choice to make love a visible, tangible force in your life, not something hidden in quiet corners waiting for the right moment. Love that is locked away cannot do its work. Love that is expressed boldly can heal, strengthen, and transform not only others, but yourself. Loving out loud does not mean grand gestures every day. It is not only about roses and declarations under the stars. More often, it is found in the simple acts. The text that says, "I'm thinking of you," the way you listen without rushing someone to finish, the extra care you take when someone is tired or hurting. These acts are not loud in volume, but they are loud in meaning. They tell the people in your life, "You matter to me, and I want you to feel it." There is risk in loving openly. You may not always be met with the same energy. Your care might be overlooked, your heart misunderstood. But to love out loud is to understand that love is not a bargain, it is a gift. It is offered freely without keeping score. The measure of love is not whether it is returned exactly as given, but whether you gave it in truth, without holding back out of fear. Loving out loud means you do not assume people know how you feel about them. You tell them. You say, "I love you, I appreciate you, I am proud of you," without waiting for a special occasion. Too often, words are left unsaid until it is too late. Love out loud refuses to let the moment pass. It recognizes that life is uncertain, and the chance to say what is in your heart is a gift you may not have tomorrow. It also means loving through action. Words carry power, but they deepen when supported by what you do. To love someone out loud is to show up for them in the ways they need most, even when it is inconvenient. It is remembering what matters to them and honoring it. It is celebrating their wins and sitting with them in their losses. Love out loud has hands, feet, and a voice. It moves, it shows up, it makes itself known. To love out loud requires vulnerability. It means letting yourself be seen as someone who cares deeply, even in a world that often treats such openness as weakness. But there is nothing weak about love that risks rejection or misunderstanding. It takes strength to keep your heart open in a place where it could be hurt. It takes courage to let your love be visible in a culture that sometimes rewards detachment over connection. When you love out loud, you change the atmosphere around you. People feel safer in your presence because they know where they stand. They do not have to guess if they matter. You make it clear. This kind of love invites others to open as well, to speak their own care more freely, to risk their own vulnerability. In this way, loving out loud becomes contagious. It is not limited to romantic relationships. Love out loud applies to friendships, family, community, and even strangers. It is the kind smile you offer to someone who looks weary. It is the way you notice the contributions of people who are often overlooked. It is generosity in words and in spirit, an intentional choice to bring warmth into places where it might be lacking. Loving out loud also means loving yourself in ways that are visible and unapologetic. It is speaking kindly to yourself, honoring your needs, celebrating your own milestones without waiting for someone else to do it first. When you love yourself openly, you give others permission to do the same, and you set the standard for how you expect to be treated. This kind of love is not passive. It does not hide in the hope that people will feel it by guessing. It steps forward, clear and intentional. It understands that love is strongest when it is both felt and expressed. A thought unspoken can be beautiful, but it cannot comfort. A feeling unshared can be powerful, but it cannot connect. To love out loud is to live with an open heart and open hands, to let the people in your world know beyond doubt that they are valued and seen. It is to fill the spaces you enter with kindness, affection, and care, so evident that it lingers even after you are gone. And in doing so, you create a life not only rich in love received, but rich in love given, the kind that does not stay hidden, but shines where everyone can see. Life offers us no guarantees, but it does offer us choices. Choices to live awake, to stand tall in the face of fear, to meet the world with kindness, to claim our stories without shame, to move through each day with intention, and to love without restraint. These are not separate paths, but threads of the same fabric, each strengthening the other. Gratitude roots us in what is already good. Courage lifts us when the weight grows heavy. Kindness shapes the way we touch the lives of others. Owning our story frees us from the shadows of the past. Living with intention ensures that our days are spent, not wasted. And loving out loud fills every corner of our lives with meaning. If we dare to weave these choices into the way we live, our lives will not just pass. They will speak, they will shine, and they will matter.